Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Texas Tuesdays. This is number 3 right here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. So, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It really helps out a lot. And actually, guys, let me edit this real quick or hide it because it is number 2. I am sorry about that. It is number 2. I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's great to join you guys again here on the voice of college football. And please settle in, settle down. We're going to be here for a little bit. We're going to be talking Texas recruiting and breaking down the first game of the season versus Rice and the second game of the season versus Alabama. So will you please hit that like button before we begin? Please subscribe down below. Also, please, guys, please go over to the Texas channel, subscribe over there, like their content as well. That is where I'm coming from. That's where I'm going to be all season long, bringing you content after the game, post-game analysis after every Texas football game. So please go over there, hit the like button, subscribe to that stuff as well. And my name is Matthew Miller, so please do that for me. Please do that for Mark. Please do that for the other content that we bring to you on this channel with all the other great post-game analysis from the Michigan guys, from the Iowa guys, USC guys. They all do a great job. Please, guys, we're trying to grow this brand. Thank you a lot. First up, like I said, last time, I thought Texas was going to have a gigantic recruiting weekend, and we did. We got 3 new recruits to talk about. We'll get to them in a second, but I thought we'd have 3 to 4 recruits commit to the University of Texas. We indeed had that. We had, I believe, 10 to 12 guys minimum on campus this week. Obviously, some guys don't show up that were supposed to. Some guys show up that you didn't know were supposed to show up. The 3 guys that did commit and did show up on campus, let's go through them. 4-star running back Christian Clark. Guy's very explosive. He's small. He's only 6 foot. I believe right now he's about $175. He's not too big, but he is all muscle. People talk about the definition of his arms and legs. He's very big. I think you'll be able to take the pounding at the next level, whether he stays with us, which I do think he will, because of, let's get to him real quick. Tashard Choice done a great job at the running back position, running back coach position. I think he'll be able to keep these guys once they're committed. So far, it's only been a year and a half under Tashard Choice at Texas. There's been the only decommitment was Ruben Owens, and there was always, he was always 50-50, to be honest with you. These guys seem committed, especially the next guy we'll talk about, Jarrett Gibson, and this is the big one. This is the guy that could be the number 1 ranked running back in the country coming into next year into Texas. So that would be back-to-back classes that Tashard Choice has gotten the number 1 running back, guys. He got Will Baxter out of Florida last year and another Florida kid, Jarrett Gibson, right now ranked the 2nd best running back behind, I believe, I forget his first name, but Tatum. He's going to USC is his last name. So there's a chance there that he does become the number 1 running back, and that would be a great job by Tashard Choice. And he can basically go on vacation now. He's got these 2 guys. Just stay in contact with them, keep them in the class, and you'll be fine. Now, the downside of this, and there's going to be downside because there's downside with everything. Are you going to be able to keep this room together, guys? You have, like I said, these 2 guys, and Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson. On top of that, you have Jonathan Brooks. You have Cedric Baxter, who just came in, number 1 running back in the country. He's going to want to play. You have Jaden Blue, a 4-star running back from 2 years ago. I think he's got a lot of potential, especially in the passing game. And then Keelan Robinson won't factor into this conversation very much because he will graduate after this year. So it's really those 3 guys that I first talked about, and Brooks, Blue, and Baxter. And then you have these 2 guys. In my opinion, 1 or 2 of these guys will transfer out. They will not finish their careers on the 40 acres. Right now, if you just put a gun to my head, I'm thinking you're going to see Jaden Blue and probably one of these 2 guys coming in not finish their career at Texas. I think one of these guys, and Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark, whoever's the better player, will play here at Texas along with Jonathan Brooks and Cedric Baxter. I think the other 2 will probably end up transferring somewhere else. But that's what happens here, guys. You get all these very talented players that come in. They compete. Some of them lose and move on. And that's fine. That's a culture you want to have. You don't want to have a culture to where you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we're not doing that at the running back position at all. We have 2 top 25 guys here. Jarrett Gibson, number 2, Christian Clark, number 23, according to 247. So very good recruiting class at the running back position. Hats off to Tashard Choice. Next up, 4-star interior offensive lineman Nate Kibble out of Humble, Texas. He comes – guys, we have been killing it. Kyle Flood has been killing this offensive line recruiting the last 2 years. this is just the interior alone the last 2 years, guys. We got 4-star Jaden Chapman, 4-star Peyton Kirkland, 3-star Andre Kojo, 5-star best offensive lineman we've had on campus, at least recruiting-wise, in a very, very long time. He was the highest-rated interior offensive lineman. I believe he was the second highest rated recruit coming out of high school for the offensive line position 2 years ago in DJ Campbell or Devin Campbell. 4-star Nato Umazulu. His brother, by the way, was on campus, did not commit, but he was on campus. He plays on the defensive side of the ball. And then 4-star Cole Hudson and 3-star Connor Robertson. That's just the interior, guys. That's not to mention guys like Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams. Guys, that's huge. Just the interior of this offensive line that Kyle Flood has built in the last 2.5 cycles has been fantastic. And this cycle's not over, guys. There's other fish to fry out there. He's done a phenomenal job. The outside is just as good as the inside too. So this is just another pickup on the inside. It's really going to help us out. So far, I believe that's either our 6th or 7th recruit in the class. I think right now, the guys that come in early tend to be more locked in my opinion, than the guys that come late. I think those guys kind of wish-washy, unless they're on signing day, of course. If you're picking up the hat, putting it on, and signing, those guys aren't going to wash out. So we'll see what happens. But so far, so good. This isn't a top 5 class by any ifs, ands, or buts, but there's a possibility for it to be now with these 3 recruits coming in this early for the University of Texas. So far, so good. I promised you guys a breakdown of the first 2 games of the season. I asked the comments last week, do you want me to go full schedule or just going to be a couple games at a time, full breakdown? We're going to do a couple games at a time, full breakdown. We're going to go with Rice tonight in Alabama for the first 2 games of the season. But before I jump into that, again, can you hit that like button, subscribe down below, go over to the Texas channel, hit that like button and subscribe. I'm also going to get to your comments right after this. You see Mark Rogers TV across the bottom of the screen? Can you go to his Patreon and subscribe over there? They do great stuff over there, guys. You join the Patreon. You will get access to Patreon content. Also, I believe they have a group chat over there that you have access to as well. So please, guys, go over there and subscribe to that Patreon. Thank you guys very much. Comments. Yeah, I'm not from Texas. I knew I was going to get that. Humble, Texas. I'm sorry about that. I said humble. I know there's a couple cities in Texas. I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong because I'm not from Texas. I've only been to Texas twice in my life. I was 12 or 13 years old. I'm from Ohio. I pronounce it humble. I'm sorry. It's humble. My bad. Clark is very good. I haven't watched much of his film. I've watched Jarrett Gibson's a lot. I'm very excited about him. I think they both fit in this offense very well. They're both very explosive backs who have a lot of potential, in my opinion, to catch the ball out of the backfield. And also, I think if they're patient enough, but behind what I think is going to be a very good offensive line, I think you're going to see a lot of reading and one-cut ability and explosion from these running backs. I like that about both of them. I want to get into more Christian Clark stuff, but again, I haven't really watched much. I've watched more Jarrett Gibson. Junior Sire getting choice. Agreed. He's been phenomenal so far with us. I can't complain. I mean, losing who he lost obviously hurts, but he's done a phenomenal job here. And, I mean, taking over the job of the previous running back coach who got Bijan Robinson is no easy task. And he's done a phenomenal job so far. You can't argue with getting the number 1 ranked running back recruit last year's cycle, the number 2 in this year's cycle, potential to be number 1, and then another top 25 guy to go along with it. That's a very good job by choice. He's done phenomenal. Jackson in the comments. Thank you, Jackson. What's up, Longhorn Nation? We need more Longhorn fans in here. You know, I see a lot of Ohio State. I see a lot of Michigan, but I don't see enough Ohio or Texas fans. So please spread the word on this show, guys. Like I said, we're going to be here. I'm going to say every week from here on out, other than next week. We're not going to do next week because it's the day before 4th of July. We're not going to do that. Or is it 4th of July? I'm terrible with dates. I believe it's the day before. So the week after we will be here, and we will be here from here on out, and we'll be here in the season after for post-game shows, and also prior. We'll probably do some previews as well. Every Tuesday we're going to do previews of those games as well. So please go over and like that content and subscribe on the Texas channel. Like I said, we're trying to grow that stuff. Christopher Foote. I want to see Rice play Alabama. Honestly, it'd probably be about the same as what we're going to get into in a second of Rice versus Texas. Actually, you know what, guys? We're going to jump in real quick and break that down. It's going to be very quick, and then we'll move on to Alabama. Okay, so Rice last year, they went 5-8 in Conference USA. Not a great team. Honestly, this is bad, guys. 34.2 points per game allowed on defense. That is 121st in the country out of 131 teams. They were abysmal on the defensive side of the football. They were not much better offensively. 84th in the country, 25.2 points per game. Surprisingly, real quick, I just want to see if anyone can get this without looking up. Who is Rice's starting quarterback this year? I'll give you 10 seconds. Who is Rice's starting quarterback this year? I wanted you to drop in that comments. If you knew, I forgot this. I knew he transferred. I didn't know he went here. What a fall from grace, I will say, for this young man. He was phenomenal coming into, here's a hint, USC, transferred to Georgia. Let's see if anyone's got it in those comments real quick. Is Rice still Division I? No. Is Texas from Ohio? Okay, so trolling. And there we go, Shadowbeard. JT Daniels. JT Daniels is the quarterback at Rice. That shocked me, guys. When I saw his face, I said, transfer JT Daniels? That's JT Daniels? He has gone from USC as reclassifying, and I believe became the second best prospect in that reclassified class, to transferring to Georgia, playing well at Georgia, getting hurt. Stetson Bennett takes his job, wins 2 national championships, goes to West Virginia, and he's now at Rice. He is at Rice. It's crazy. And Shadowbeard. Yeah, it's like our third time playing him at his third different school, right? Yeah, we played him at USC. We played him at West Virginia and at Rice. We cannot escape JT Daniels. And he plays decent versus us. He played pretty well versus us last year. He had no offensive line to help him. He's probably not going to have an offensive line in this game to help him. In fact, I know he's not, because they have 2 transfer offensive tackles or offensive linemen coming in to play for Rice this year. The only positive spot on offense, in my opinion, is him and Bradley Rosner. He's back. He was their leading receiver last year with 44 receptions and 10 touchdowns, 810 yards as well. So he's a pretty good player. The other 2 wide receivers did not play at all last year, or played very little, and they're transfers. And then, like I said, they have 2 transfer offensive linemen that did not play and are coming in this year. And then their starting running back didn't play, or he did play a little bit last year, but I believe he was 3rd on the depth chart, and he's now the starter. He was a transfer as well. And then good for them. Their leading tackler comes back, guys. Congratulations. You just brought back your leading tackler, Chris Concy, the little middle linebacker on a team that was the 10th worst defensively in college football, so I don't think that matters much. Rice is going to be just as bad as they were last year. They went 5-8 last year. In my opinion, they'll probably go 6-7 is my opinion. I think they'll improve by 1. So 6-7 team. I think Texas wins this game rather easily. I'm going to go with the score of 40. No, I'll go 51-20 Texas. I think Rice scores some garbage points late. I think it's probably 51-7 in the 4th quarter, and then we poll everyone. It's 51-20 is the final score. So I think it's rather easy win. And again, we don't want to show too much versus this Rice team. If anything, honestly, if you don't have to show anything other than just your basic run schemes and a couple screens, honestly, we have the athletes. Just out-athlete them. Let's be honest here. Just throw your guys out there, run very basic plays so Alabama doesn't get much to study on. And then, again, guys, we go into this Alabama game. We lost to them 20-19 last year. I think it's going to be a good game. Paxton, we just got done breaking down Rice. I was talking about Rice and how Texas is not going to lose to FU this year. We will beat them 51-20. Broke them down a little bit. Didn't go into too much depth there because, again, it is Rice. I don't think I really need to explain that, especially since most of you are here to hear this next team, which is Alabama. I will read some of your comments first, though. Rice has good stretches in college football, made Texas sweat a couple times in the 90s in this century, 100%, but they're not going to make us sweat this year. They just don't have the horses. The only way they make us sweat this year, guys, is if JT Daniels gets enough time and protection and gets hot. But, again, I think our secondaries are strength on defense. You got Jahdae Barron, you got Ryan Watts, you got Jalen Catalon, Jaron Thompson back there. Also, Terrence Brooks. I think the best trio of cornerbacks we've had in at least a decade. There was a stat yesterday that Jahdae Barron and Ryan Watts did not allow a touchdown in coverage last year. I saw that on Twitter. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I'm going to roll with it on this. if that's true, guys, I just don't see it. I don't see how Rice can even really compete in this game. Like I said, I think it's a 51 to like 7-10 game in the fourth quarter, and then they put up some garbage points. I think it ends up being 51-20, and I think we saved most of our bullets for Alabama the next week. I will try to ignore the trolls. We definitely have one. Christopher Foot's a troll, and that's cool. Hey, as long as you're watching, I don't care if you're a troll. Just please hit that like button. Hit the like button. That's all I ask from you. Ed Rogers, no, Arch is not going to start. John, yeah, I was shocked when I read they have JT Daniels. Like I said, a fall from grace. I don't know how you go from USC to Georgia to West Virginia to Rice. He had so much talent. He came out at 17 years old when he reclassified, and there's a good chance JT Daniels doesn't even get like signed to an NFL team, which would be crazy. I don't know what the odds you would have got on that were when he came into USC, but they probably would have been like plus 7,500 not to get signed to an NFL team. That would have been insane. Okay, so the next game, Alabama versus Texas, and we're going to talk about the big thing going on at Alabama, and that is the QB battle. Jalen Milroe versus Tyler Buchner. Jalen Milroe, good prospect, 4-star prospect, actually recruited by Texas, one time committed to Texas. Perfect example of a Tom Herman quarterback. He played 8 games between 2021 and 2022. He had 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 46 carries for 320 yards, 7 yards per carry average. He came and played in the Arkansas game when Bryce Young got hurt and Arkansas started to come back in the game. Almost came back and pulled off the upset. I believe the score at one point was 24-7, and then they had to put Jalen Milroe in, and they ended up blowing that lead, but did win the game. In the one game he did start, they won versus Texas A&M, but barely. He had 3 touchdowns and 3 turnovers. Again, this guy, to me, is a Sam Ehlinger clone. He's exactly why, or he is Sam Ehlinger is the reason Jalen Milroe got recruited to Texas. Big guy, super athletic, can really run the ball, guys. Very strong arm, but very inaccurate. He's a Sam Ehlinger clone to me. I think there's a lot of potential for him, and I think there's a possibility to where this guy could be a lot better than most people are going to give him credit for what they saw last year. But we'll have to see. Tyler Buchner from Notre Dame obviously transferred. He's played in 13 games, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Also pretty good athlete, 82 carries for 459 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. He started 3 games. He went 1-2 in those games. Again, a good athlete. I'm going to be honest. I know more about Jalen Milroe than Tyler Buchner. I think, obviously, from everything that I have heard, Jalen Milroe will be the starter for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think Tyler Buchner, even though Tommy Rees is their offensive coordinator now, and Tommy Rees was at Notre Dame when Buchner was, I do believe Milroe wins the job. I think this Alabama team has so many question marks on it, and the quarterback position is definitely one of those. Next, we'll go to the offensive losses, and they have a couple big ones, obviously. Bryce Young. Bryce Young has been phenomenal the 2 years he was in college. He was phenomenal his first year when he won the Heisman Trophy. He might have been even better last year, guys. He might have been better. And he didn't even make it to New York, but he might have been better. And they lose him, obviously, as the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. Again, you lose running back Jahmyr Gibbs, who was by far their best running back last year. He had over 1,300 total yards. He was the only running back with more than 1,000 total yards. He was very dynamic out of the backfield, as our Texas fans can attest to. He was the only one. Him and Bryce Young are the only reasons they won that game versus Texas. They were both dynamic and amazing in that football game. They lose their tight end Cameron Latu. I don't really know how to pronounce the last name. They also lose 2 offensive linemen to the NFL draft. So this team is missing a lot on offense. Again, this is Alabama. They're going to reload. They had another great recruiting class. The issue is, can you replace someone at the quarterback position like Bryce Young, especially when you have a quarterback battle between 2 guys that I think are pretty good but have yet to prove themselves, especially in the case of Jalen Milroe. I think there's a lot of hidden talent there, but will it be brought out under Tommy Rees? We'll have to see. Defensive losses. Again, you lose an absolute stud at the linebacker position, one of the 5 best defensive players probably in the last 7 to 10 years of college football, and Will Anderson. You also lose Henry To'oTo'o, their leading tackler. You lose 3 safeties, guys. 3 of their safeties got drafted. Brian Branch, Jordan Battle, and DeMarco Helms. They also lose on the interior of the defense, DJ Dale and Byron Young. So those are the losses on offensive and defense. And who steps up for Alabama? That is the question here. Who steps up? Do we have Ja'Cory Brooks, Isaiah Bond, Jermaine Burton? They have a couple transfers on offense as well. On defense, obviously, you still have Dallas Turner. That guy's a stud. He might be the best defensive player in college football. You have who I believe is going to be a stud and has a chance to win the Jim Thorpe Award as a freshman is Caleb Downs at safety. That guy is a freak. I don't know if you guys saw the Sugar Bowl practices. That guy looked ready to play in the Sugar Bowl. He came in early, ready to work. I think he can play right away. I think this Alabama team is going to be probably as good on defense as they were last year, which they weren't great, honestly. But they also lost and replaced their defensive coordinator. So hopefully they get better on defense. Most Alabama fans are glad they lost their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, especially Bill O'Brien on the offensive side of the ball. So that's going to be interesting. And with Pete Golding gone on the defensive side of the ball, I think they will get a little bit better. I also think talent-wise, there's a little bit of a drop-off, but there's not as much. On the offensive side, there is. I'm really worried. If Jalen Milroe doesn't become the 4-star prospect he was said to be, I don't think Alabama goes undefeated. I don't think they lose one game. I think they lose multiple games this year if that happens, guys. I really believe that. I don't think they have to at least get B plus, or they have to get B production from the quarterback position. B production. I don't think you have to get A, which would be Bryce Young, but you have to get B production. You can take a little step back because I think the defense could pick up some slack. We'll see what they get out the running back position. Jace McClellan was obviously highly touted, but he hasn't been great. So it's going to be very interesting, guys. Now, who do I think wins this football game? I think it's a close game. You're asking me to pick a game that's 3 months away. And if you're asking me right now, as of this second, and I will say this, guys, I'm going to have these predictions 1 by 1 or 2 by 2. We're going to break that down. Then we're going to go through what my actual predictions will be probably 2 weeks before the actual season starts and of what Texas will be. I'm going to have Texas losing this game. I think Texas loses this game 28-24. I think it's a really good game. I think it's a hard game on the road, but I do believe Alabama comes through with the W, guys. I can't expect Texas to do something I haven't seen them do, and I haven't seen them win a big regular season game like this, guys. So I'm going to say Alabama wins this game. I think it's a close game, 28-24, but I think just something tells me, guys, that this is going to be the downfall for Texas. I don't think they have many on this season. And again, I have the right to change my mind, but you're asking me for a prediction right now on June 27th. I'm going to say Alabama wins this game 28-24. Again, at the end of or 2 weeks before the season starts, I'll come out with just like a quick rundown, probably 10 to 15 minute rundown, our Texas Tuesdays of how many games I think Texas will win. And I could change my mind on this, but right now I think Alabama wins this game, guys. What do you think? How does this guy know the score? I know you're trolling. I'm guessing the score. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a very good game. I don't know. Like I said, it's 28-24. I think there's going to be a lot of breaking in, obviously, for Alabama, and there's not going to be as much on the Texas side of the ball, but I can't predict, even though I'm a Texas fan and I believe in Texas, I can't predict them to do something I haven't seen them do in a very long time, guys. I'm just not going to do that right now. Shadow Bearded says, yeah, I have UT as a 10-2 losing to Bama and Baylor. That may turn out to be what I have as well. I think I talked about how I was scared of Baylor the most on our schedule out of all the Big 12 teams. So that could be, honestly, that could be my record as too, Bearded, Shadow Bearded. Kansas will be a tough game. I agree. I think Kansas has a possibility as being a dark horse in the Big 12. I think right now, if I had to predict the Big 12, I would probably go Texas Tech championship game. Again, we'll go into that as well on another Texas Tuesday. We'll talk about the Big 12 in general and where I think Texas stacks up in the Big 12 and what I think the Big 12 championship game will be. Thank you, Mark. Matthew absolutely knows score. He knows every score all season. He's going to be a very rich man by December. 100%. I know the exact score all the time. I know the score of every Texas game. I have the script. They ask me for the script. I write it down. I send it in. Whatever I say goes. That's what happens. Just listen to me. Bet with me. You'll win. You'll be the richest man on this planet, okay? The last time Alabama didn't have a quarterback, we played them in the national championship, but they had elite running backs. That is a great statement, Paxton. They did. They had Mark Ingram at the time, obviously Heisman winner, and Colt McCoy got hurt. I'd rather not talk about that game. But I do believe I can't wait for that game. Just talking about it gets me excited. I'm so ready to go. We are 60 days away from college football. 60. And then what does that mean? About 86, 87 days away from Texas versus Alabama. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I can't wait to be able to scream at my TV again. Hopefully with the Texas win. You know, the last couple times in close games when I've had to scream, we lose. So that'd be nice if we get a win. That Alabama team had an NFL quarterback. They did. Greg McElroy did make it to the NFL. That'd be interesting to come up with a list of ranking the Alabama quarterbacks under Nick Saban. I would say Greg McElroy probably in the middle of those guys. He's definitely not the top of the list. I think the top three, whatever order you want to put them in, are Bryce Young, Mac Jones, and Tua. Jalen Hurts probably in consideration, but I don't know. I don't think he'd crack the top three. I think he'd have to go number 4 on that list, honestly. Colt McCoy was way better. 100%. Colt McCoy and Greg McElroy should not be in any sentence together. Colt McCoy is way better. But Greg McElroy was a good, solid quarterback. Silent commits, we'll see. We'll see those commitments soon. 100%. There's no doubt in my mind 1 or 2 of those guys were probably silent this weekend. But three loud commits with Christian Clark, Jared Gibson, and Kittle. So very good recruiting weekend. Greg McElroy is phenomenal as an announcer on television. I like him a lot as an announcer. Didn't like him as much as quarterback, but I like him as an announcer. Okay, Garrett Gilbert. Ugh, let's not talk about him. Mike Gee says, will this be Quinn's breakout year? I do believe Quinn Ewers will be in New York for the Heisman. I fully believe that because if I believe that Texas is going to be 10-2, 11-1, I think 11-1 is the high point. I think 10-2 is the low point. I really believe that. You can say whatever you want. That is my prediction. I'm not going to change off that. I just have to go through the schedule and think who are 1 or 2 losses going to come to. And I think Quinn Ewers is going to be in New York. And for us to get to that point, guys, Quinn Ewers has to be in New York. He has to. We're not going to go 10-2 if Quinn Ewers is not in New York, in my opinion, because there are some holes on this team. There's as little holes on this team as any team that we've had in the past 15 years, but there's still some holes. And Quinn Ewers has to be able to fill those little holes. He has to be able to plug those holes in the boat so this ship doesn't sink. And I think he's going to do that. I really do. I really think he's in line for a big year. I think he's going to be a first-round NFL pick. I'm buying the Kool-Aid this year. I'm usually not like this. The last 3 years I have not been like this, but I'm doing it. And that's what's, it's like going back to that ex-girlfriend and she just keeps breaking your heart. And that's what it's like for Texas. And I'm doing it this year. I'm keeping that hope alive. We're going to see it. I swear it's going to happen. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid for the first time in 3 to 4 years. And if we fail like we have the last decade plus, it's going to hurt even more because I'm actually buying in. Last year, me and D4 sat here after games and said, just buy in. This is the year before the year. Just buy in. This is the year before the year. Just buy in. This is the year before the year. The year before we said, this is Sark's first year. Just don't have any expectations. Don't have any expectations. Don't have any expectations. And now I am bought in. I'm completely sold and bought in. And I believe this is a 10-2 to 11-1 win team. And it's going to hurt if that doesn't happen, guys. It's really going to hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. Well, if they continue to stock top 5 class, they should be okay, but we'll see. They did very well in 2023, but they have to continue it. If that's in reference to Texas, 100%, Texas has done a very good job of stacking classes. If you're talking about Notre Dame, this is kind of like new territory for them, stacking classes. But Texas has always done well recruiting, but there is a fallacy, guys. If you go back and look at our offensive lineman and defensive lineman recruits, they haven't been very good, honestly. So we're finally hitting that. Like I said, I ran through the list of just interior guys that we've gotten the last 2 cycles. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the last 2.5 cycles on the interior offensive line alone, 3 stars or higher. That's very good. That's outstanding. That's elite. That's the first time in my lifetime that Texas has done that on the offensive line. So that's why we're buying in. This is different. We've always been able to get the wide receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks here and there, the cornerbacks here and there. It's very rare. We don't really hit on these offensive line and defensive line. If we hit on those, that is the difference, because trenches in football is what wins you the games. And I really believe if we hit on these guys, which I think we will with Kyle Flood and the guys we've gotten, then we have a different trajectory. And I really believe in that. I'm really hoping for it. I'm hoping we see the fruits of that labor come to fruition this year. If Nair is healthy, this offense will be tough to stop. No doubt. No doubt. That guy was phenomenal at Wyoming. Over 20 yards per catch, had 12 touchdowns. And then he got hurt last year. You're going to have guys. You're going to have Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Nair, Jordan Whittington, and then some probably Casey Kane, mostly. If you want to go 4 out, maybe Jatavian Sanders split out. Again, at the tight end position, you have Jatavian Sanders. In the backfield, you could have Cedric Baxter, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, Jonathan Brooks. This offense is loaded. The offensive line is returning in full. All of them are back, with Kelvin Banks, who had a phenomenal year, was a freshman All-American on the left tackle. Cole Hudson will be a sophomore, just like Kelvin Banks on the inside, had a good, I'm not going to say phenomenal, but he had a good freshman year. He's coming back. The other guys, Christian Jones is coming back for his 6th year, guys, on the other tackle position. This has a chance to be a top 3 offense in the country, if not the best offense. I think they'll finish in the top 5 for sure. I think they have a chance of being the best. If the defense could just be what they were last year, which is top 35, top 40, this team should win, like I said, 10 to 11 games. Texas isn't elite, but the Big 12 is 50 shades of terrible. There's no doubt the Big 12 will probably end up being the 4th best conference, maybe 3rd, but I'm probably 4th best conference in America, and that definitely will help out Texas. But I disagree. Texas has all the pieces to be elite, and if they go 11-1 in the 4th best conference, they're elite. You may not like that, but they are. And I really believe there's a chance for us to crack that college football playoff. You can say what you want to say, but other than Michigan, in my opinion, there's no team that stands out to me that I think is going to make it. I think Michigan, honestly, which is surprising to say, is a lock. And Georgia with their schedule is probably a lock. Georgia's schedule was awful. If Georgia had to play their schedule from last year with the team they had this year, they would not make the college football playoff, because I don't think they're going to be nearly as good as the last 2 years. But their schedule is so bad that I think they do probably end up winning the SEC and and they will make the college football playoff. So I think those 2 teams are in. And then you probably have Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, USC, a couple other Pac-12 teams, Clemson and Florida State, competing for the other 2 spots. I have not. It's funny. People keep bringing up him. I have not. I've watched Jarrett Gibson's highlights. Very impressed. Christian Clark, I have not. I've seen his size. Jarrett's a little bit bigger. So it'll be interesting to watch his highlights. If you want to send me anything, send it to Matthew with 2 T's, MS97 on Twitter. If you want me to watch highlights or something that you would suggest, send it over there. I'm obviously will definitely watch those videos if you have them. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Is it Jim Jones Kool-Aid? Am I going to die? No, I'm drinking it. Too bad. Yeah, I haven't been able to contact D4 in a while, John. If you know why or where he is, I would love to have him back on. I loved him as a co-host. I loved having a co-host for the Texas postgame shows. I like to bounce ideas off people, and that was fun having D4 with me last year. But so far, I have not heard anything back. I hope he's doing well. LW, Texas wide receivers are going to be a problem for defenses 100%. That's another matchup, guys, that'll be interesting to me and might decide the game or will decide the game. Part of the reason in Tuscaloosa, at least the game's decided. Their wide receivers versus our corners. You have Brooks on our side, Jahdae Barron, and Watts versus Ja'Cory Brooks on their side, Isaiah Bond, Jermaine Burton, and I forget the transfer wide receiver that they have coming in, but it's going to be interesting with those guys out there because it's our trio versus their trio. It's probably going to be Malik Benson transferring in at wide receiver for them. So there are 3 or 4 guys versus our 3 guys will be a very interesting matchup and will definitely decide that game. I think that, and then if we can get some pressure on Jalen Milroe or at least contain him in the pocket will be the 2 big keys to me. Containing Milroe will probably be number 1. We have to keep him in the pocket and make him a passer because if he becomes a Cam Newton type or Sam Ehlinger type where we just let him run downhill on us, it could be a long night. Yeah, so we have hit hard on Arizona. It's going to be interesting. I think people get caught up in that. Yes, Texas, if you could just lock down the state of Texas and recruit there, you'd be very good. But in my opinion, we're a national brand. We should be nationally recruiting. Get the best players from every state, and you'll be just fine. Shadow Bearded, there's no doubt in my opinion, or in my mind, that the offensive line is the best we've had in a decade. The defensive line still has question marks on it. Will Alfred Collins finally plays to his potential? Will Justice Finkley step up this year? I'm not going to say he hasn't played up to his potential because he's only been on campus for 1 year, but will he step up? Will Tavondre Sweat take that leadership role that Keandre Coburn did and move forward into that? There's so many questions. Will Barron Sorrell be able to harness his capabilities that we saw in the TCU game and play that well throughout a season? So if they can do that, if they answer all 4 of those questions, or even if 3 out of those 4 questions are answered and those things do happen, this defensive line you're right, it has a chance to be the best we've had in a decade. For sure, the offensive line, in my opinion, already is. I'm not even concerned about that. I think Kyle Flood is moving that in the right direction. And with the improvements I saw last year, I have no doubt. It's going to be the defensive line, in my opinion, that has to make your statement true. They have to play well this year. Many guys come to mind. Jackson Jeffcoat, Alex Okafor. The 2 guys that really come to mind are Brian Arakpo and Sergio Kindle. Those guys were phenomenal. Joseph Asai, underrated as hell. I feel, man, that's one guy I wish. There's a couple guys in the last 10 plus years, guys, that I feel really bad for that I wish we could have stepped up for. Joseph Asai, in my opinion, is number 1 on that list. Number 2 is Bijan Robinson. Number 3 is David Ash. David Ash is one of those guys where I think if he played with the talent that Colt McCoy did, I don't think he would have been as good, but he'd been pretty damn close. And if he could have stayed healthy, he was a pretty good quarterback. He was very mobile. He was accurate. He seemed very intelligent. I just felt bad for him. He kept getting concussed, and we didn't have much talent around him, honestly. Quandre Diggs is another one. Quandre Diggs was great while he was here. He was just surrounded by nothing and god-awful coaching, too. Will Colin Simmons and Kobe Black commit soon? I just saw Colin Simmons get a crystal ball to Texas at a 75% for on 3. I think he will commit soon. I don't know about Kobe Black. That's a little bit more silent in my opinion. Colin Simmons, I do believe, commits probably by Alabama. That's my opinion on that. I think Colin Simmons will be committed to Texas at Alabama. You took Tariq Black from us. He would have been an All-American if he wasn't perpetually injured. 100%. Injury slowed him down a lot. He became very slow. He was slow as hell at Texas. I think he ran like a 4.8, 40-yard dash. Injuries caught up to him. He was good in the red zone, though. Paxton, you don't think Casey Kane will touch the field? I think he will touch the field. I think you'll be surprised by that. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but I do think he will touch the field. Christopher Foote just friggin' trolling out here. Casey Kasem. Texas is elite when. I never said when. I said this year I think we have a chance of being elite. That's exactly what I said. I did not say we were. I said we have a chance of being elite this year, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. Go look at our wide receiver room. Go look at our running back room. Go look at our offensive line. Go look at our quarterback room. Go look at our quarterback room. Then go look at our cornerback room. Go look at our safety room. The only question is the middle line or is the linebacker position. You have Anthony Hill, Jalen Ford, and then there's a lot of question marks there, in my opinion. So if you want to question that, fine. But the rest of the roster is very good, and we have a potential to be in the elite football team. I don't care what you say. There's potential there to be that. And you say Texas had that in the past? No. Texas had that in the past because you were listening to people that didn't know Texas. Texas fans knew this team was never going to be elite the last 2 to 3 years because we didn't have the talent where it matters in the trenches. We have that now, so we have a chance to be elite. I 100% think Michigan is a lock for the college football playoff. I really do. I think they're the best team in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State's going to be the third best team in the Big Ten this year. Yes, I said it. I think it's going to be Michigan. I think it's going to be Penn State. I think it's going to be Ohio State. And I think there's a chance if Ryan Day does not win, not this year, but next year versus Michigan, because I think they're going to lose this year in Ann Arbor, he will be fired. I'm pretty confident saying that. I know people say, well, he goes 11 and whatever every year. Congratulations. There's only 2 to 3 games every year Ohio State has the chance of losing, and he's losing 50% of those games. You can't do that. You can't. I'm sorry. That's like at Alabama. Oh, we go 11-1 every year. We lose to Auburn. And that's even different because they have a harder schedule than Ohio State does. Ohio State has a lot of cakewalks, in my opinion, especially in the Big Ten, because the bottom of the Big Ten is garbage. Garbage. It's getting better with the coaching hires they've made, but it's not good at the bottom of the Big Ten. Texas always has the pieces, then they blow it. They have everything almost every year. At this point, it just hurts it's their hubris that holds them back. Okay, so I would agree with you. We have the pieces that are fun to watch. We have the Harlem Globetrotter pieces. We have if you like NBA basketball, it's the LA Clipper effect, in my opinion. You see these fancy stuff, and it comes off the TV screen. It's fun to watch. It's explosive, but it doesn't lead to results. How you win football games and how you will always win football games, go look at Georgia's roster the last couple of years, is in the trenches with guys like Jordan Davis, Javon Carter, Nolan Smith. Those are guys that's how you win football games. We haven't had those guys. We don't have the offensive line talent that Georgia's had the past 10 years. We don't have the defensive line talent that Alabama has had the past 10 years. We have had average offensive line and defensive line talent at Texas. We've had the skill players. Sometimes we've had the quarterbacks. But we haven't had that, and we're finally getting that. That's why I believe it's different. I could be wrong, but I think it is different, and I think people are going to see that this year. Christopher Foote, Hudson Card played last year. Yes, he got hurt. Hudson Card played on one ankle, basically, after Quinn Ewers left the game. This is a great question. Will, how do I think Hudson Card will play at Purdue? I think Hudson Card is going to play phenomenally at Purdue. I think Hudson Card is a lot more talented than people give him credit for. He made a lot of improvement from year 1 to year 2. And there was legitimate discussion when Hudson Card came in and played, and that kind of ended because we lost to Tech, but he played pretty well in that game, that he could take Quinn Ewers' job because he played that well. He played very well in spots last year, a lot better than he did his first year. So I think he will play very well at Purdue. I didn't know UT has a stacked O-line. They do. The recruiting class, no, not yet. Our starting offensive line is very stacked. You have every starter coming back. You have Kelvin Banks, who was an All-American at freshman, coming back, obviously for a sophomore season. Cole Hudson was very solid as a freshman at left guard. He's coming back. And then the other 3 starters are also coming back. So you have a fully stacked, same as it was last year, offensive line with another year under the belt with 2 freshman guys. The biggest jump is freshman and sophomore year. You're going to see those guys get even better. I think this is the best offensive line we've had in a decade, period. And we have depth behind it. This offensive line is going to be good. I believe Pro Football Focus had him ranked as a top 10 returning offensive line in the country. I believe they were number 2 or 3, actually. So I do believe we're going to be very good on that side. And if Kelvin Banks makes the improvements from year 1 to year 2, like I think he can make, there's a really good chance that people are going to be talking about in the offseason next year of him being a top 10 NFL pick. That's how good that kid is. So definitely watch out for him. 23 Horns, top 6 wide receiver room in the nation. I believe we're top 3, personally. If you can name me a room other than Ohio State that has a Isaiah Nayer and Xavier Worthy type feel, or a top two, I think we're a top three running back room or wide receiver room. I fully believe that. Especially then you throw in Jordan Whittington. If you want to include Jatavian Sanders in there as well, which I think you should because he had a lot of catches last year and a lot of receiving yards. I think we have a top three wide receiving room, period. This is a great question, Paxton. If my computer, there we go. How do you feel about running backs and pass protection? Does it change the schemes on offense at all? Okay. One, that's going to be very hard to gauge in practice, and I think that's going to have to be a scenario to where you actually see them in games protect the quarterback. I think you can have somewhat of an idea if a guy can pass protect in as a running back. I don't think you see the whole picture until he plays in a game, and we're not going to get that answer versus Rice. We are going to get it answered week 2 versus Alabama, and it's going to be interesting. Are we going to see a Bijan Robinson type moment where you see Will Anderson break through and he just stonewalls him because he did that in that game? Maybe. I don't know what the reports have been coming out of Texas of who is the best running back out of pass protection. I would assume, just based off of experience, Keelan is probably the best at this point. Jaden probably doesn't have much experience in that. I know Cedric Baxter probably doesn't have much, but a lot of that has to come down to your will and want to do that. So if they can challenge these guys and make them do it, I think we'll be okay. Now, if you have none of these guys on this roster can do it, or if you don't have multiple guys that can do it, that's definitely going to change your offensive scheme. For example, if you have one guy that can do it and he's in there and teams figure that out, that he's the only one that they bring in on pass protection, guess what? They're going to know it's a pass right away and it's not a run. Especially if it is Keelan, because Keelan's probably the third or fourth best running back on our team. So every time he comes in, they're just going to be like, okay, it's a pass. They're not going to run the ball. So hopefully Jonathan Brooks or, in my opinion, I think it's probably going to be Baxter are better at than, or at least above average or average at that, because then that does provide the whole playbook to Sark, and it doesn't give teams a scheme ability, I will be able to say. So like if those guys come in, you don't know whether it's run or pass. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And if we do struggle, it's going to be hard. But that's a very good question. And it'll be interesting to see who steps up in that department. Bijan got a lot better at it. He was very good at it last year. That's part of the reason why he went in the top 10 in the NFL draft, because if that was a question, he's not going in the top 10. To be a top 10 NFL draft pick as a running back, you have to be able to do everything. You have to be able to run, catch the ball, pass protect, basically be a Swiss Army knife. So it's definitely an important part. Jason Moose, Michigan, OSU, Bama, Georgia, elite. Texas on the cusp of being elite, but they have some work to do. Okay, if you're saying results, I agree with you. If you're saying talent-wise, I disagree. I think Texas has all the tools to be elite. They just have to show it on the field now that they are elite. That's the only thing I'm saying. There we go, John. Plug that for Mark. If you're already on Amazon, admit it, might as well click on Mark's link and support Mark and get a couple of bucks. So please do that. Yeah, if you guys are going to shop on Amazon, might as well use the link and support Mark here. And again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. This is Texas Tuesdays, brought to you by me, Matthew Miller, on Mark Rogers TV, as you see down below. Can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. Go over to the Texas channel, do the same thing. Go over to all the other channels, subscribe, hit that like button. Again, we're going to be here every Tuesday, other than next Tuesday. We're not going to be here for the 4th of July, but I will be here every other Tuesday leading up to the season and every Tuesday during the season previewing that week's game. And then after that, on the Saturday, Friday, whenever they play, I will be back for post-game analysis with you guys commenting. Please join us. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. It really helps out everyone involved on Mark Rogers TV. Thank you guys a lot. Hummus, I love Asad, but I wish he would have held off on hitting Mahomes out of bound last year. Yeah, I'm guessing you are a Bengal fan. I'm from Ohio. I can see the state of Ohio right there, the silhouette. I'm guessing you're a Buckeye fan as well with the colors. Yeah, I think people are going to be surprised. I think or maybe you won't be surprised. I think Joseph Ossai is going to have a gigantic year for the Bengals. I'm thinking 10 plus sacks, a lot of tackles for loss. His motor's so good, and I can't get angry for a guy, even if he was on my team. I wouldn't get angry for a guy making a play because out of hustle, he was the only one on that honestly on that Bengals defense, like one of like 2 or 3 guys that showed heart in that game, in my opinion, and hustled his ass off. So I wouldn't get that angry at him. I'm so behind on the comments. Thank you guys for keeping the comments. A hot take alert. What was that hot take for? Was I throw them out. Oh, what I said. Okay, so you're predicting Penn State 9-3 and OSU 11-1. I think Penn State's going to be better than Ohio State. I really believe that. We'll see, though. That's why they play the games. Big Ten is the second best conference. I don't disagree with that, but the bottom of the Big Ten is garbage. Both of those can be true. And also, I would argue the Big Ten was not the second best conference last year. But going into this year, I would even then, I think there's going to be a debate. Like I said, I think you have SEC, ACC, and I think you're probably going to have the Big 12 go forth. And I think the Pac-12 could possibly be the second best conference this year. I really believe that. I think you're going to see SEC, Pac-12, Big 10. Because the Big 10, I'm sorry, the Big 10 is just so bad other than those 3 teams. And like I said, the middle of every conference is about the same, but the bottom of the Big 10 is bad. And it may improve this year. I could be wrong. If that happens, if the bottom improves, the middle stays the same, and the top stays the same, they'll be the second best conference. The real MVP. I completely agree with you on your take about how bottom the Big Ten is. I know you would agree with that, Drew. I've heard you on Mark's channel, but no, I do. I just don't think the bottom of the Big Ten is any good. I think there's like 4 to 5 really bad Big Ten teams. And again, that was last year. It's year to year, guys. It could change. Big Ten has gotten somewhat better coaching wise, obviously, with some hires at Wisconsin, Nebraska. So if those guys get better, the Big Ten will be better. So we'll see what happens. Can you imagine the pandemonium? You said 9-3, John. If Ohio State goes 9-3, I wouldn't be shocked by that, but I'm thinking 10-2. I think they lose to Michigan and then another loss. But I think I'd have to look at Penn State's schedule closer as well. But I still think I'm standing on that. I'm going Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. Again, see, I knew this was going to happen. I say that. Ohio State fans, I'm not saying – I never even said your schedule is lousy. I'm saying the bottom of the Big Ten is trash. That's all I've said. That's all I've said. I haven't said they're not the second best conference. I haven't said you have an easier hard schedule. I've said the bottom of the Big Ten is trash. That's all I've said. That's all I've said. Joey Foster, agree with that. Please do that, guys. LFG, Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma is not getting to the Big 12 championship game. That's not happening. I shouldn't say not happening. I would put the percentage of them not going to the Big 12 championship or we'll say going to the Big 12 championship at 10%. I believe Texas Tech's better. I believe Kansas State's better. I believe possibly Baylor's better. And I think Kansas and Oklahoma are even, honestly. I think they're probably the 5th best team tied in the Big 12. Why do people always point to the bottom when bashing conference? Like, bro, look at the top of the middle, the whole thing. Our Cellar Romans are better than your thing is silly. I'm bashing it because I have to watch it, unfortunately. I live in Ohio, so I have to constantly watch god-awful Big Ten teams play, and I don't like doing that. And they just have more of them. They do. Every other conference has 1 to 2. The Big Ten had 3 or 4 last year. And I agree with you. Like, top 3 teams from each conference, Big Ten, if you just take the top 3, is probably second. Again, I think last year they were the 3rd probably best conference. I think the Big 12 was second best conference. You can debate that. And it's hard to debate that when I know you have 2 college football teams. But if the rest of your conference isn't any good, then and maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I haven't done – again, Mark knows better than me on that stuff because he goes way deeper into that. I stick to the Big 12, Texas, whereas he's more all around, gives you a worldview of college football. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, if I deep dive into it, I can be completely wrong. But agree, I do agree. Over the last 10 years, it's really not a debate. It's the SEC and then the Big Ten. There's no debate about that. I'm just saying last year. Never said the Big Ten is trash. Literally has not said come to my. I have not said that. That has not come out of my mouth. I said the bottom of the Big Ten. Thank you. I've said it many times. I did. I thought I did answer that question. Maybe I didn't. I think it will affect the scheme if they can't do it. Like I do. I think what's going to end up happening if they can't pass protect is you're going to have to get the ball out quicker. So there's going to be less passes downfield, which Sark loves to attack deep, especially with the weapons we have. And I don't think you're going to see it's not going to be as creative. You can't be as creative. What it's going to be is a lot of screens, a lot of slants, a lot of digs, a lot of comebacks. And you can't win a lot of football games like that. So I do believe that will affect our scheme. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. But I thought I answered that already. If I didn't, Paxton, I'm sorry. Matthew, I knew how great left tackle Banks was. Your pass offense will be lethal. I do believe it will be lethal, especially attacking downfield, which Sark loves to do. He loves to do a lot of play action, attack downfield, and then use the speedy guys underneath as well off those play actions. Why some guys go deep to create a like leverage and also open lanes in the middle of the field. So we'll see what happens there with that. That's how I think you'll see. Let me put it this way: with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith and Steve Sarkisian's play calling, that was nirvana for Alabama. That was perfection. That was and I forgot they had great running backs as well. So it was a lot of play action. If I can't go deep, then Devontae Smith isn't the one going deep. Someone else is going, and he comes underneath. We dump it off to him. He breaks 15 to 20 yards off of a missed tackle. I mean, it was just perfect. It was a perfect combination of great players and, in my opinion, some of the best offensive play calling I've ever seen. And I think there's a possibility here with Texas. I don't think we have that wide receiver talent that Alabama did have, because that's probably one of the best running back or wide receiver rooms of all time. But I do believe it could be a notch below that in the passing game, and a notch below that's very freaking good, because in my opinion, that's probably the second best passing offense that I've watched in my lifetime. So the past 20 years of college football watching. The only other one to rival it was the 2019 LSU Tigers. I believe those are the two best passing offenses of all time, or of the last 2 decades. So it's going to be interesting. And I think Texas, I don't think will be on that level, but I think it'll be a little bit of a level below that. Even SEC fans have to admit Talia is legit to his brother. He's good. He can't stay healthy, and he always has like 1 to 2 games a year where he throws like 6 interceptions. Was it 2 years ago where he threw 6 interceptions when they were ranked versus Penn State? Like, he has these big turnover games that he's prone to for whatever reason. He's got good weapons, and I think they can be decent in the Big Ten. I think they can go 8-4, but he's got to stay away from those turnovers. Real MVP. What's the end of season goal for Texas this year? The end of season goal is the perfect dream world scenario is 11-1 college football playoff berth. Realistic goal is 10-2 with a Big 12 championship win. I think you go 10-2, you lose to Alabama, and you lose to a random Big 12 team. Like I said, we already broke it down. We beat Rice 51-20. We lose to Alabama 28-24. I'll break down 2 games next week in depth. So I think 10-2 is realistic, and I think 10-2 with a Big 12 championship is the most realistic. That's what I think is going to happen. That is true. We go to 1 in CP, then Austin. But Mike Ford, it looks like you're a Michigan fan. We will be coming to Ann Arbor next year, and then they come to Texas. So that's going to be a fun game. I can't wait for that. But again, we play Alabama out of conference this year, and won't be out of conference next year. But we're not playing them, thankfully. That wouldn't have made sense, and thankfully the SEC did us justice by avoiding them for the first year in the SEC, because that would have been 3 years in a row, and I think that would have been unfair. But who knows what they could have done or what they thought about doing. 100% agree. I think we have a puncher's chance, and I agree. Kool-Aid McKinstry is really the only proven guy in that secondary for Alabama, so it's going to be interesting. I think Caleb Downs, again, is a stud, but I think there's a chance for us to take advantage there, and I think our secondary versus their wide receivers match up very well. I like our secondary. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be fun. I cannot wait. I wouldn't mind some revenge for the Rose Bowl several years back. That's actually the game that made me a Texas fan. So, yeah, we won't have Vince Young running all over you. We will probably have Malik Murphy maybe throwing all over you. Maybe Arch Manning. It's going to be one of those two. One of them is going to throw all over you, though. Even in that cold weather, we're still going to throw all over you. It won't be that cold. It's going to be September. It should be pretty nice. The real MVP. Getting in arguments with Big Ten fans. I love it in here. John, I look forward to it as well. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Texas going to Ann Arbor, Michigan fans coming down to Austin, and Texas fans going up to Ann Arbor. That's going to be a lot of fun. Games like that are the reason that I'm glad college football playoff is expanding, because I believe you will get more of those. In my opinion, I think it's going to be really fun. Shadow Bearded, you think this year Sark will actually step on people's throats? Our wide receiver room is too crazy to not show them off consistently. I agree with that. Sark has not really had that killer instinct other than the Oklahoma game, but he also hasn't had the horses to do that. So I do believe we will have that killer instinct. That is also something that takes a while to ingrain in a program, and hopefully he's done that. We'll see that this year. In my opinion, if we're going to go 10-2, 11-1, 10-2, like I said, real MVP as for realistic, 10-2 with a Big 12 championship win, you have to be able to like skull drag some teams, and I think we'll do that this year. Okay, I just want a quick question for you guys in the chat. I want a quick top 4 of who's going to make the college football playoff this year. I just want to know, who do you guys think right now? Like I said, I'll do one right now, just right off the top of my head. I'm going to go Michigan, Georgia. I'm going to go Texas. Oh, man. And then I'm going to go USC. I think it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Texas, USC. I think Texas plays Michigan and Georgia plays USC. Georgia, Michigan, USC, Clemson. Okay. That'd be very interesting. I would love to see new blood in there. USC being in there would be fun. Obviously, with Caleb Williams being the best player in college football, that'd be really fun. Georgia, Michigan, USC, FSU. Yeah, I was considering the teams that came to mind, obviously, for the last 2 spots. I have Georgia and Michigan locked in. You have Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, USC, UCLA, Oregon State is like a dark horse, but I could see it. It's going to be interesting. Ooh, Shadow Bearded. I like this one. LSU, Ohio State, USC, Texas. That would be very fun. Will's got Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Notre Dame. Okay. A little homerism maybe with Notre Dame in there, but it could happen. Washington would be fun too. Washington is also a sleeper, I would say, in the Pac-12, along with Oregon State and UCLA. I think USC is obviously the favorite, but then those 3 come behind. And like I said, I think if you had to put the contenders out there, I think Texas is the only team in the Big 12 that could possibly make the college football playoff. I don't think there's any other team in the Big 12 and the ACC. Like I said, Florida State, Clemson. SEC, you got LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. Big 10, you have Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Big 12, I think you just have Texas. If this is a question for me, what makes you think OSU got better than Michigan? I think Michigan's better than Ohio State, so I hope that's not a question for me. The Golden Playbook, I'm going to go Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington. Wow, okay. Will and you are on the same page, I believe. I think he took Ohio State out and had someone else in. Let's see. Nope, Georgia, Michigan. Oh, yeah, he said Notre Dame instead of Ohio State. Stroud bailed them out some games last year. How many times does Michigan have to beat OSU for DeReal to pick Michigan? I don't know. You're going to have to ask him that. I don't even know if he's in here. But again, guys, could you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It's been great. I'm going to have, like I said, breakdown. If we have any more recruits, we'll break that down. For sure, doing the next 2 games, which I believe are Wyoming, and then the first Big 12 game of the year, and a new Big 12, so that'll be interesting. And I'll break that down for you guys. But again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. This is Texas Live number 2 on Texas Tuesdays right here on Mark Rogers TV. Go over to the Texas channel, subscribe and like over there. We're trying to grow that channel. I'll be here every Tuesday for post-games previews and analysis after the games during the season. And I will be here leading up to the season every Tuesday, breaking down new news, breaking down the schedule, talking with you guys, taking your great comments. So please do that. So it's going to be really fun this whole season. Like I said, we will not be here next Tuesday because of 4th of July. From there on out, though, we will be here. I promise you. My gee, this has been fun for sure. Brutus Swallows. I don't know if we can end with that. We got to end on a more positive note. Harbaugh is going to pin DeReal MVP. Picked Ohio State to win on everything. He grabs any small amount of points. Thank you, Will. It's been great having you guys in here. Again, we will be back not next week, but the week after. What is that, July 10th or 11th? So please tune in for that. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Thank you guys a lot. It's been great. And we will be here the rest of the year after next week. So thank you guys.